Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Love Your Journey podcast. I'm Tara Joe with my dog Bailey Boo, who's sleeping today.
Oh,
I'm really excited because this is not a solo episode. I have a guest today. Her name is Tara Preston. She is a midlife, matriarchal, awakening, and transition guide, sacred nourishment, and feminine prosperity mentor, serving women globally for over 15 years. She supports women in midlife to reclaim their vitality, deepen their self trust, and move through this powerful life transition as an initiation into greater clarity, nourishment, and embodied leadership. Her work, which I have done personally, is rooted in the understanding that midlife is not a decline, but a recalibration into a more sustainable, aligned, and prosperous way of living and leading. As the founder of the Akashic Women's School and creator of the Flower of Life Akashic Method and certification, Tara guides women through deep identity shifts, nervous system recalibration, and generational healing work. She integrates sacred nourishment, intuitive leadership, and body based practices to help women restore their energy, expand their capacity, and create lives and businesses that feel both prosperous and deeply aligned. This is, I mean, I could keep going with your bio, but I just want to just
no.
stop
Well,
for a
that's
second
good. I didn't
because
realize it was
this
so
is
long. Go
like so
ahead.
beautiful. No, but really, it's so beautiful. So just taking a
Thank you.
moment to really honor just the work you've done, because I know that you have supported thousands of women, which is really
Yeah.
incredible. And you really help, I think, shift these outdated patterns through these modalities that you do, which is so important, I think, right now with how much we are really losing our own wisdom, our own voices, our own inner authority, as you
Yeah.
would say, just due to the innovations that are coming through, whether it's AI, or we even had this conversation today about how people come to us and they're putting on their fears of what's going on in the
Right.
world or what's going on, and then all of a sudden you're taking on other people's energies and stories that aren't even your own.
hmm
So welcome. So thank you for being here. And
Yeah. Thanks
for
for
anybody
having
that's
me.
listening, I don't even know when I stepped into your program, but there was something about your energy
Mm,
that at the time when I was navigating some really challenging things deeply in a relationship, as well as like my own personal view
hmm
of how I saw my body and things like that, I was really leaning into, I don't know, just everything you say online is so nourishing to hear. And when you're
Aw.
in a session with you, it's like you're getting this like warm hug. And you do a lot of womb work, but it's almost replication of being in a womb with somebody, like being in a womb and
hmm
being
hmm
taken care of is the word that I'm really
Oh, that
really
makes
thinking about.
yeah.
Yeah. And I've been in a couple different things. So I think we did a 90-day
hmm
what
Yeah.
did you call it? What did we
It was the
what did I
midlife,
do?
the 90-day midlife at the time, the 90-day midlife mama glow up. Now it's like the 90-day kind of midlife recalibration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and it went by so quickly. But I was
so quick.
also a part of, you had a little audio program going on too. And
Oh, yeah, that's
gosh,
right.
there's something so nourishing about hearing your voice when you go into the Akashic records. Like honestly, Tara,
Mm,
it's just so incredible. And it always, like when you think it's not going to resonate with you, or you're like, oh, I'll just attend, like there's just always so many threads, I think, for all of the women in those groups. We all just felt it.
right.
And none of us
Yes.
had the same story at all.
None. I know. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, and that, a long time ago, I had a mentor who I was learning the Akashic records from, and that's like since I've adapted and changed how I utilize the Akashic field and the Akashic records. But, she said group work doesn't work with this. It'll never fully resonate with each person. And if you're going to do the records, it needs to be one to one so that you can specifically look at the blocks of each person. And it never fully resonated with me. So years
Oh
later, when
no.
I was developing my own method, which, that method, and thank you to her, was very mental body. Like you had a pendulum. It was all very mental, and you deliver the information very in a very mental way. And I was being called to bring something through that felt much more like heart centered, And I felt like there was a field attached to the Akashic records. And then that's where I
Yeah.
started to kind of bring through that aspect of working with not just the Akashic records, but also with the Akashic field. And then how and you know this from your own readings, but it is still kind of cool how we can plug into a collective field and bring
Yes.
through that transmission and have it vibrate in a certain way with each person who's in that space,
Yeah.
all there for a reason, obviously. Yeah.
Well, and I think, this conversation around community and being connected and having this, like, we're all one, right? We all have these common threads, whether we know
Mm-hmm.
it, whether we want to be aware of it or
Yes.
not, we do. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a benefit of sometimes doing group programs. I also know that doing a deep dive gets you deeper. There's a reason why one to one
Right.
is there for a reason, right? We get to deep
Right.
dive into really personal issues that we might not want to bring to the surface in front of a group or a community. That's one thing. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say there's something really deeply healing to be in community with, especially other women that are
Mm-hmm.
maybe navigating similar things. And so, I think that that's probably why it works, why your method works, and why you were kind of getting that into like that in tuned intuition insight
Yeah.
about, well, that doesn't really resonate with me
Mm-hmm.
because really we're not meant to do life alone. So why would we heal alone? Too, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I find, well, especially if it's in community, or I look at it as like a circle too. And when you're in the circle, like it kind of all, it is community. There's a transmutation that naturally happens in the circle.
Mm,
And there's a lot of just different mirrors, like how we kind
yeah.
of start to, oh, I see what she's saying. Oh, that kind of resonates with me. Oh, and it lets us kind of uncover, unearth, and go deeper with, our own healing and empowerment journey too. So, yeah, so group work, and and I've actually led quite deep containers with that, like way of she, which was a dark feminine medicine journey, and it was 8 weeks. And that was the first time I really brought in like that group component with the Akashic records and the Flower of Life Akashic method, and it was so deeply transformative, and I was like, it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
back up for a moment, considering,
Sure.
this podcast is Love Your Journey. What started your journey into this work? What got you to
Hmm.
this place of being a leader and wanting to really have women
Yeah.
connect to themselves more, especially in midlife and beyond? How
Well,
did you get started
yeah.
in this?
Well, and so I've been here for 15 years. I know you've been, in your journey as well for a long time. And so there's been like evolutions, but the first evolution was motherhood. And so, I was pregnant with Audrey in Calgary, and we'd been there for 13 years. And I was just at that place. I was 30, 31 maybe, and just nothing was fitting right anymore. I was like a professional makeup artist in the city, and I had done that for like a long time, flying with WestJet. And I was like, we have to leave. Like, I had to leave. I just felt like I really wanted to be the mother who was really anchored in her purpose. I really wanted
Mm,
to be connected and vital. And at that time, we found this family acreage that was sitting empty, and we said that we would take it. And so we moved back, to the forest in northern Saskatchewan. And then at that time I wanted to be a birth doula, but I didn't like the hours. And so I knew I wanted to work with women to help them connect to their intuition, their bodies, and to trust the process of change
right.
and
Yeah.
really space hold for that. And I was like, this isn't it. And so I had Audrey, and then I found the Akashic records, and they spoke to me because it was so deep, and you're getting into deep, really soul level clearing work, and you're supporting women through change and transformation that ushers in the next level of their purpose, which for women happens as we move through. Oftentimes, it can be divorce, it can be loss, but it will also happen through feminine life cycles of initiation.
Mm,
And so that would be like a young woman's first bleed, right? Or it would be like motherhood, but we all have our own initiations around motherhood, and whether that's in a space of leadership, taking care of community, being the aunt, like it'll show up in different ways. There's still an initiation into motherhood. And through those doorways, we're asked to shed an old version of ourselves. We have to.
mm,
And not everyone does, because I've worked with women in their 60s and 70s, and they haven't done that work, but they're ready to do it then. And there's a lot of deep excavation work to do when you haven't taken the initiations, these doorways of change, and used it to recalibrate into more of the woman that you're born to be. And so midlife is also this gateway. It's a feminine life cycle of initiation into more of our matriarchal power, which basically means we're shifting from like mothering everyone else now to mothering ourselves. So we have more freedom to choose ourselves, to show up in our leadership in a much more grounded, vibrant, and robust way as preparation for the next evolution of our purpose and our expression. Yeah.
So good. Like when you said it's a doorway of change, like I just had to,
Right.
I might have forgotten your next sentence after that because I just was
That's
thinking, yeah,
okay.
that's so true. It's so
Mm-hmm.
true how it's just you can step into it and there's like big changes that happen. And I think too, like I work with a lot of women going through transitions, just of any kind,
Yeah.
right? Whether
Yeah.
it's their career, relationship, illness, all sorts of different things, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
going into a business after they've been in corporate or things like this. So that those transition cycles can be within these big momentous changes like from womanhood, etc. So how do you navigate not only like okay somebody's stepping into midlife but there's also these little tiny threads of other transitions they're going through, so how do you
Mm-hmm.
hold space for women that are kind of navigating a lot in this lifetime?
Yeah. Well, I think part of the way that I space hold is the container and then the anchored presence that I bring to space holding, because the more anchored and regulated and capable we are, I consider myself to be a transformational guide, the
Mm,
more that a woman can lean into that support. So there's a sense of safety, of trust, of being able to surrender. And in that place, she's able to start to like let go of, all these little pieces are showing up, but it's also like there's an initiation in it. It's like, what do we need to let go of in that space and continue to let go of in that space? And then I find the other part is that like now it's like there's change. And so we don't really know who we're becoming yet either. There's like that part of like the void as we move through this initiation of change. So part of that, the work then becomes how can we anchor her more deeply in her connection to herself? And
right.
so a lot of the work becomes redirecting into a deeper foundation of self. And I'm sorry I have to do this, but my computer's not plugged in. And
That's
I
okay.
apologize, but it's not plugged in the actual outlet. Okay. Yes. And so part of that is assisting her to go deeper into that foundation, but within that deeper connection to self, because a lot of them, they start to feel very pulled around, but we lose our power in that place. So it's like bringing them back into that space of deeper connection. And do they have the tools? And for a lot of women, they might have some tools, but where can we go deeper? Because
Mm,
at the end of the day, when we move through these cycles of initiation, we need the deeper internal foundation to actually carry us forward. And so it's a piece that can get missed because the deeper our roots are, the more we're going to feel safe and strong to expand and to really hold this new integration of who we're being called to be. And within that place as well, that's often that internal foundation wants an upgrade. And that's where I'm doing a lot of inner child work,
yeah.
working with the mother father templates, working with a lot of the masculine feminine lineage pieces to really get that upgrade internally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Yeah,
it,
it's
it
so
just
good.
goes on from there around identity and integration and that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting because I never take anything as a, I think it wasn't a coincidence that your battery was dying in your computer.
Oh,
So I was
good.
thinking about, at the time, I was thinking about how much of us lose the connection with ourselves. And you lost your
Right.
connection at that time with your
So
computer. You
funny.
had to plug it back in.
Yeah, it's like
So,
not even plugged into the wall. I'm like, what? Why am I? Yeah.
so, so yeah, I mean, I would say for sure in the last 3 years when I've worked with women, there's a lot of this losing connection with self through just
Hmm.
even, I mean, we are in an information age where things are coming at us with lightning speed. There's never been a generation on this planet where we have such
Right.
access to information at such high speeds that I think sometimes just so hard to handle. And I think that's where we lose a lot of even hearing our own wisdom, because what is ours when we're scrolling on social media and all of a sudden you could feel your nervous system being dysregulated, like in whatever
Absolutely.
symptom that is for you that comes in. I know that I
Mm-hmm.
can, I mean, I used to just get it from watching, I used to love watching crime shows, but now I can't, I can't do
Yeah,
it as much, right? Because my
right.
body just can't handle it. So I have to
Yeah.
really do it in moderation. But I really noticed lately, especially with the uncertainty in the world, just how much just doing these things that have been doing for so long, going on Facebook to check out what your friends are doing. There's just so much stuff coming at me that we don't even consciously resonate with how much is just being um,
Right.
like put on us. But I always say to
Yeah, how
my
much we're
clients, and I'd
being
love
asked
to
to
hear your,
digest.
yeah. So, I always say to my clients, like, we have to really be aware of what actually is what we're doing, whether that is talking to somebody or being on social media or watching TV or whatever, what that's actually doing to us and our body, and being really aware of what that dynamic is for you, because everybody's different. But how do
Mm-hmm.
you kind of teach your clients with these, maybe toxic traits that we might have, because it's more than just social
Mm-hmm.
media that people can lean into. But what is
Mm-hmm.
your feeling on that, of in terms of like why maybe somebody is leaning into that over excess of things that we do for our bodies or our minds, and how would you suggest them getting out of that kind of cycle for themselves if they
Yeah.
notice they're in it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a big part of that, like a lot of the work that I have had done for several years prior, I don't talk about as much now, it was around, getting women, the fully awakened woman, getting women back into their bodies, into their channels, getting their
Yeah.
channels open, so that we can flow, so that we can feel anchored, so that we can occupy our own vibrational space. But exactly, we're bombarded with all this information, and so how do we pull ourselves out of it? And I think first and foremost too, it is, really starting to cultivate that anchored presence, which for women I find often happens through the womb space, which is why I'm so
Yeah.
passionate about the womb. When we're anchored in the
Yeah.
womb, we occupy and take up space in a different way. But just in a more simple way, for me, I, will guide women a lot back to like creative practices. Like get into, I have this, practice. It's just the Radiant Morning Power Hour. And so for women who are just, just even wanting to come back into that deeper foundation of self, a lot of times I'll bring them back to the like, well, how's your power hour going?
Yeah.
And they might have their own tools, that they pull into that. But I really like creativity, movement, dancing, shaking, getting out into nature, play, probably a lot of the things that you would like. But,
Yeah.
so that we can bring ourselves back into our bodies, into our flow frequency, open our channels up. For me too, it's like nourishment and food are actually like really big ways for me
Mm.
to be in connection with my body and with nourishment, and I cultivate a lot of like flow from that place too.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are some ways. Yeah,
Well,
I
let's
feel
talk
like
about
be
that for a
similar to
second.
you, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about the food nourishment piece for a second, because um, this is something that I've come up against that's quite been quite difficult for me since having mast cell disease, like mast cell activation
Right.
syndrome, where I do not fit into a box of what you can and cannot eat anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I can't just open a cookbook for everybody. I just find that a lot of people that I like, clients that I have, also are struggling with, oh, I'm allergic to this, or I'm allergic to that, or I'm
Totally.
celiac, or all of these
Yeah.
kind of things. But what I have known, even myself, even after my brother passed away, I would say I was really leaning into really making food with love, because I was house sitting
Oh, I love that.
very, very far away from anything. I was 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes away from a grocery store. Nothing could be delivered to my house. And that was 4 months of like really recalibrating to being on earth, like in a on a ranch,
Right.
and it was so lovely in many ways. But I just
Mm.
realized how accessible we everything is in terms of quick things, whether it's a meal
Mm,
kit that comes to your door, or whether and so I had to
right.
really learn to love cooking and love what I put in my body, and being like really careful. And I probably felt really good
Mm-hmm.
Doing that for myself. I think a lot of times it's just that identity shift to what we're doing too. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you think would be, let's say somebody's listening to this right now and they're really struggling with their bodies. I think that that's a very
Mm-hmm.
common thing that many women go through, whether they feel like
Absolutely.
they're too thin, too ill,
Yeah.
too big, whatever these things are. And I think it's especially
Mm-hmm.
with hormonal cycles, we can go through these like feelings of not feeling good enough in our body. And that can
Mm-hmm.
affect everything from our businesses to how we show up in our families and our relationship and our sex life and all of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would be maybe one or two tips, like in terms of the nourishment and the food piece, because I know you're kind of leaning
Okay,
into
yeah.
that a little bit more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say? This is something that everybody could potentially do that would
Yeah.
help
I
them
I
feel
would
more
say see it
nourished.
through a more feminine lens.
Mm,
So, because we're so programmed by the patriarchy to dislike our bodies, to feel shame in our bodies, to
yeah.
criticize our bodies, to not find beauty in our bodies. But actually, if we start to see our bodies through a more like feminine Shakti, like think Renaissance woman, like
Mm,
lens, when we start to
yeah.
see the beauty of our individual bodies, when we start to understand that our bodies actually mimic Mother Earth in the most beautiful way, from like cellulite to the
Mm,
hair on our bodies to the curves to the waters and the flow, and like we're meant to be so diverse, so curvy, not perfect, and then coming into that place of like of loving our bodies for the power that they are,
mm,
how capable they are, like the
yeah.
miracle that they are. So
Yeah.
I find those things happen, and for me, because it happens for me too, but like I know how to shift out of it. And so for me, a lot of times it is feminine movement. It's like
Mm,
getting my
yeah.
hips moving, dancing, closing my eyes, just being in my body, taking my hands and just like feeling my curves. And then, forest play oftentimes is so incredible. It's like we just
Yeah.
remember our true nature. Like
Yeah.
we're okay to have lumps and bumps. We don't have to be perfect. It's okay to have a little belly. So,
Yeah.
and I think detaching too, this happens a lot from like the younger version of like what we look
Oh,
like, where we
yeah.
fit a little bit more of a patriarchal mold,
Yeah.
right? Midlife is also that time where we get to find power and freedom in like the truth of who we are. We get to take up more
Mm,
space.
yeah.
So, yeah, and
Yeah.
it can be challenging to do, but when we can shift it, I find into that more like feminine appreciative lens. And same
Yeah.
with food, I find is actually it to me, it's like all the mother. Like food is the
Mm,
mother. Herbs is it's the
mm,
mother. It's all the mother. And so the more that we can tune into the mother, to Shakti, to creativity, to life, to vitality, the more we can connect to that, and the more that we can mother ourselves, we can nourish ourselves, we can see the beauty in it, and we can stop working out of like deprivation and restriction, and start seeing like the beauty of how the mother wants us to feel and be nourished, like in our
mm,
expanded, robust, like
yeah.
strong, robust, regulated, taking up space, way, nourished
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Well, and it kind of, in your talking there, it kind of reminds me of so much of what I'm thinking just popping up here is, a lot of women have this mother wound, and
Yes.
and just having to relearn in your own way and leaning into what feels
Hmm.
good for you. Like if you didn't have a great experience with a mother figure, or do you want to just speak to
Yes.
that? And then my other
Mhm.
question to that too is like, do you ever work with the father wound as well as part of your work? And like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, do you want to
Yeah,
just speak to those kind of, because some people
for
might be new to
sure.
those words,
Hmm.
and others might be experts at it, but just, yeah, if you want to just kind of,
Yeah. And that's the mother father templates I call them. We kind of upgrade, but the mother wound to me is the deepest, it's the core wound on the planet. It's the disconnect from the mother first and foremost. It's how we've grown disconnected and we undervalue Mother Earth.
mm,
From yeah. And it's deep and it affects all of us. It affects men too. So, but if we bring it into a more kind of like temporary timeline and we connect it back to our relationship with our own mothers, we have to also recognize that our mothers also have the mother wound, and so did their
yeah,
mothers. And
yeah,
it travels back a long way, right to, maybe like 5,000 years ago, where we really started to see the suppression of an undervaluing of the feminine. And so then we saw the pendulum kind of tip the other way into a more hyper masculine aspect, which is more where you'd see like the father wound. Although we all, for the most part, especially if we've been colonized, really carry that split. And so as little girls, when we're in relationship with our mother, that really pure part of us just wants to be celebrated, nourished, held, to feel safe, right? Loved, seen, cherished. But we have a mother and a father who carry their own wounds. But for little girls, it's like to see the face of the goddess, like the feminine face in their mothers, what we don't often, or maybe we see some of it, but not all of it. And so we don't necessarily have that mirror. We don't feel seen or celebrated or have that template for maybe a mother who had healed layers of shame and disconnect around her own
Yeah.
feminine expression. And so we end up carrying that forward. But that disconnect from the mother is often how we self-abandon ourselves. We haven't learned how to, well, one, mother ourselves from a more balanced template. Like even in the realm of leadership, you know, we're stepping away from a much more wounded and imbalanced place of feminine leadership, where women tend to lead into like overgiving and sacrifice and nurturing everyone, and they're tired, and that's old, and that's kind of like the old template of mother as well.
Right.
And so we want to step into this place of being able to mother ourselves, which is how we heal the mother wound. We start to see ourselves, celebrate ourselves. We start to nurture and nourish ourselves. We start to really come home to that more vulnerable, innocent part of ourselves, which I'm sure you do lots of work around this as well. But it's one way that we start to heal the mother wound. And we start to look at where we're not fully stepping into our power as women, where we're hiding, why it doesn't feel safe. And we actually start to look at and listen to and mother that part of ourselves. And what that does is it actually like alleviates like pushing. We're actually starting to like create a foundation now that can carry us forward in our leadership. And again, it's that like robust, like inner foundation that we're building. And the father wound, I find, even though our fathers can have mother wounds, the father wound I find plays up a lot more around like control, domination. It's just kind of like that very like head critical aspect. And yes, like again, you can see aspects of that in a very imbalanced mother. But it's generally a lot more of like the control. There's a whole list of words that I usually use when I'm teaching, but those are the ones that are kind of coming up right now. And so we see that, like even in our own self, we will see how we kind of like maybe beat ourselves into submission over something, or
Yeah.
we're like
Oh yeah.
hyper controlling, or we're very armoring. It can play out in that way too. And so part of my work is like dismantling a little bit of that, the masculine father like wound aspect. And some of that will mirror back to when you were a child. Some of it's ancestral, some of it's past lifetime, right? And so we just untangle and untangle, and we bring these aspects into harmony. And as we do that, that starts to shift through how you conduct yourself as a leader, how you experience intimacy, how you experience money, how you experience your business, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of that as above, so within, as below. You know what? I just messed it all up. As above, so below, as within, so without.
Yeah.
Yes, there it
Yeah.
is.
I mean it I think people don't realize how integral looking at our wounding is, like to just
Right.
be with that wounding and see what can, come to the surface and what could heal through that, and then what does our lens of life look like from that place, right? So, I
Yeah.
see so many things in people where we have that overthinking and that critical piece, and that almost like it can be way easier to blame everybody else rather than how can we look at this and like take the responsibility on ourselves, because it's our
Yeah.
responsibility to heal, right, for the family line. I always think about it that way. uh, you
Right.
know
That's right.
for the family line, not just, it's not
Hmm.
just about you, it's about
Hmm.
everybody else that follows you. And um
Yeah.
from that um intergenerational trauma
Hmm.
lens to, all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think it's showing ourselves really deep love when we do this work.
Hmm.
right? And I think just even
Yeah, I
leaning
like
into
that.
that,
Hmm.
even if somebody's listening to this and you might not be able to, work with either one of us for a 90-day thing because the financial aspect,
Yeah,
but what if you just leaned into, for right now, what other resources that are at either lower cost or free that just gets you started in this work? Like maybe even just this conversation can be enough to heal some things for yourself, a layer of it, because it's all about layer. I always
yeah,
talk about like peeling away a layer at a time.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you've been in like the self development and the self awareness world, but I think I started when I was like 18 or 19 years old. Like I just
Hmm.
left my small town and was so over everything.
Right?
that was that was a
Yeah,
part of that. My inner teenager still needs to heal, I think. And really, really ready to kind of look at just even the family dynamics I went through to all of that stuff. And
yeah.
so I personally just really love to lean into different modalities, and yours was the first time I've ever really had a positive experience working with somebody with the Akashic records. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I
Mm,
had an experience with one person, and I just really didn't love what she was saying to me, and
mm,
um, and I think that's just also such a reminder that, just because somebody does one modality doesn't mean, and you didn't appreciate it, doesn't mean that every single person that does that
right,
modality does the same thing. We all have a flavor of fun, right? We all have, um,
right, right.
something to give. So yeah, it was quite
Yeah,
a beautiful journey to go on with you. So if somebody wants to do this work with you, what are your offerings right now?
yeah.
Yeah, what I'm curious, do you
Um,
ever do in-person stuff as well? I was curious about that too. Or is it all distance? Like
yeah.
on Yeah.
No, it is, well, a lot of it is online, but then when summer opens up, sometimes I'll do like retreats in the yurt, like day retreats in the yurt. I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
traveled
Oh
for a
fun.
couple of years since COVID actually for retreats,
Yeah.
but I've got like Sacred Midlife Body, which is it's a local retreat happening on May 2nd.
Oh fun.
Yeah, and it's all about, coming into the appreciation and love and deeper listening of our midlife body as we move through that transition. But then I've got a micro offer right now called Nourishing the Mother Within, and it's all about healing the mother womb to reclaim your relationship with food, vitality, and body. And it's
Mm.
beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful 2 week container, a 90-minute masterclass. And yes, we get into nutrient dense foods, but it's actually whatever this is more about cultivating fun and creativity and listening to your body and finding the edge of your own deeper level of nourishment.
Mm.
And then my 90-day. So yeah, there's the 90
Yeah.
day, but just, yeah, reach out. We can have a chat. And if something pulls at you, we can explore it.
Yeah, I'll definitely leave all of Tara's information, and if there's any links you want people to have to your work, I'll put them in the show notes so it's accessible to everybody.
Thank you.
And people can find you either on Facebook or Instagram as well. I know you're on both of those as
Hmm.
well, and you also have a podcast. Do you not?
Yes,
Sort of.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a podcast. I
Yeah.
just temporarily forgot
I
the
was
name of
like,
it
are
when
you
you
sure?
asked me. I was like, why? This has been all week though, where my
Yeah,
brain's like,
I
what is
know.
the word for that thing?
I know.
Radiant
It's so
midlife.
interesting.
God, yes, I've got a podcast.
That brain
Yeah.
fog thing is really something else, isn't it? When we're this age, I get
Yeah,
it.
that was
I know.
hilarious. Yes,
Yeah.
Radiant Midlife. There's a lot of really great resources and episodes on there.
Yeah.
You can find it on Apple and Spotify, a few other listing platforms. But yes, and there's a free gift too called Sacred Nourishment for Midlife Radiance. If that speaks to you, you can download that. There's lots of like really fun, and I like to weave when I talk about a feminine lens. It's important to weave in pleasure, and so I
Mm.
always have like a really healthy, like sweet treat every week. And so there's a couple of ideas in there for that as well.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was the one thing. Yeah, you kept showing me videos of like really fun recipes because I
Yeah.
have this like real addiction to chocolate apparently. I feel, and it's so interesting for you to show different. Yeah, I mean I think this, this type of work just opens up the possibilities of something you might not have seen before. This is, I think
Right.
that's anybody that's never done
Hmm.
any of this work before, whether it's energy work or Akashic records or whatever, it just enables you to expand your vision of what's possible for what you cannot see, because sometimes we see our
Yeah.
lens through like these blinders, right?
Hmm.
And we can get really stuck in our ways, really rigid in
Yeah.
our ways. And Tara's work really allows you to just get some more flexibility in the way that you see life. And
Yeah.
what other ways could you just let yourself enjoy
Hmm.
life?
Yeah.
Maybe people don't even, I could just feel some people on here don't even know what that pleasure feels like. They maybe have not even experienced intense pleasure
Absolutely.
before, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could feel that for myself on many levels. I think you and I talked about that.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
I've gone through so much, especially in this last 5 years, that it's like, what is
Hmm.
pleasure and joy? Like, I really need to redefine this for
Hmm.
myself again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a
Yeah.
journey that you take people on.
Thank
So,
you. I just
yeah.
wanted to speak when we were talking about, like that coming into relationship with our bodies in midlife too. And I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to keep kind of pinging at me for whatever reason. I wanted to speak to sacred adornment. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone's listening, I want to encourage you to like play with fashion, play with the earrings, play with the shirt, the color, the
Yeah.
whatever, because it's another aspect of like our feminine expression, taking up space, trying things, experimenting, letting yourself feel good and have fun in your body, but also like through what you wear. And it can really enliven you. Like
Yeah.
it can enliven you. It can really spark that creative energy and you start to feel good in your body that way too. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, don't you think a lot of women we just wear the too tight of jeans and the too tight, like we just do
Yes,
these things
totally.
instead of actually go buy
Yeah.
yourself a bigger pair of jeans so you feel better? Because like when you feel
Yes,
better in your body, your life gets better, right?
totally.
Just
Yeah.
and yeah, so add the color if you want to add the color.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
um as you well know, I wear a lot of color because
I
I
love
used to wear
it.
a lot of black in my life, but I've been
Oh,
wearing a lot of
wow.
color in the last definitely, 5 to 7 years for sure. And it does something, I think, when you start to really ask yourself, does this really feel good on?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm booking a photo shoot with a beautiful photographer
Oh, I
here
know
called
her.
Kate Rhodes.
No,
Oh, you don't
no,
know
I
her.
thought of someone else. I
and
thought I saw you
and
comment on somebody something about a photo shoot, but it's not the same girl.
Anyways,
Okay.
she's like, well, just wear what you feel good in. I was like, ooh, I like that. That's a very smart
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Because I said to her, I just don't feel like myself since the car accident and all these things I've
Yeah.
gone through, and I've been putting off doing a photo shoot for my business for a long time because of
Right.
this.
Yeah.
But doing, if anybody has a chance to do a photo shoot in whatever capacity, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, it
Mm-hmm.
really gets you out of your comfort zone, I think. Hey,
And it's a
and it's such a
celebration though,
fun,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The feminine likes to be seen and celebrated. Like she's
Mm,
our creative essence. Yeah.
yeah,
She's beauty.
yeah,
And every woman is beautiful. We just have to come home and cultivate and connect to that remembrance. So yeah.
yeah. Before you go, I want to ask you, what's the most pleasurable thing you do right now, like for yourself? What's the thing that you lean into when you want to find that
Yeah.
pleasure?
Well,
Curious.
honestly, for me, it's food, especially like in the winter right now. Like,
Mm,
aside from like movement and or intimacy, it's food. But for me personally, like it's so creative in that
yeah.
like I'll take a salad and I'll weave in like I play with my sauces. I weave in fruit. I've been like really
Mm.
experimenting with hot honey lately in my salads.
Oh yeah, I
Like
saw you say. I saw
yeah,
you
I'm
do a
like, and
post on
so then
that.
a girlfriend of mine, she went and made a salad and she tried hot honey and she's like, oh my God, you just made that salad so sexy. And I was like, I told you. Right. And so it's honestly, for me, it's the chopping, it's the scents, it's the herbs, it's the like, it's the whole creative act of preparing something nourishing for myself. And I don't actually very often even use recipes. I just play with all of it. And so when I sit down, to enjoy that, it is like it's so pleasurable in that don't I don't deny myself anything in regards to how it tastes. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so that's actually really inviting for you to hear, even when said that you added, fruit to the sauces and stuff. It's like that's so fun and so creative.
Right?
I
Yes.
honestly, you know what I thought you were gonna say? I thought you were
What?
gonna say your paintings.
Well, painting is definitely one of those things, but food the last 2 year, I mean, 2 years has been like a pretty big piece for me
Yeah.
exploring and learning about food. And it's an extension of my paintings
Yeah.
because,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I started to learn about painting and energy and the cultivation of Shakti and flow. And
Mm,
painting to me is also like such a way to self-connect and express. I move a lot when I paint. I splatter paint. I push paint
yeah.
around on the canvas. It's a
So
place
good.
for me too, where I've got like no agenda, which is something that I invite women into too. Like in Sacred Midlife Body, we all do body maps. So we do a body letter, we connect to our bodies, but there comes a point where we do a creative journey, and it's so interesting to see women hesitate. Like I can do whatever I want. I can make a
Yeah.
mess.
They don't know
Yeah.
even how to do it. Like
Yes.
they're so. Where are the rules? Where?
Exactly. And it's like, no, just go,
Yeah.
just fling the
Yeah.
paint, just like it just,
So
there's a
amazing.
whole kind of guided process to it, but that is definitely one of the pleasurable pieces for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
amazing.
gardening. And I can't wait to get back into that. Like I love my plants and my garden, and it's
Oh well,
often
you're when you
barefoot.
show videos in the spring and the summer and the fall, it's just so beautiful out there. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
over winter. I know you guys. Do you still have snow?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, jeez. I
Oh
just
yeah.
can't.
There's so much snow still.
Yeah, you
Like
guys are
it's
just really up north, I think, too, with
yeah,
that in the
yeah.
forest. But so
It's
beautiful
more than
here.
it's like when we were kids kind of snow.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but not for
Lots
a
of snow.
long time have we had it like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It
Such a
is.
pleasure to have you here. Thank you so
Well,
much
thank you. That
for
was so
coming. And
fun. Thank you for
yeah,
having me. It was so
yeah,
nice
I
to
really,
connect, and
yeah, you're
yeah.
such a beautiful soul, and I hope that anybody that's listening to you that you start to follow Tara, get to know her work, and if it's
No.
not for you, it'll probably be for somebody else that you know of, because women are seeking more and more of this kind of
Mm-hmm.
nourishment for themselves, and maybe even for the first time. So please lean into her work if this is nudging your heart in whatever way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, and
Thanks
be
for
kind,
having me.
everyone. Lots of love.
Thank you, everyone.